Hello, everybody, and welcome to Monday Night Therapy. I'm here with Connor Hayden, the guy from Corn Crazed, the close personal friend, Connor Hayden, who I haven't talked to or heard from in many months because, that's just how it goes. When it's not college football season, it just like life ends and nothing is good in the world. And if you go out and you look at social media, the world's full of pain and suffering and shit. And now it's week zero. It's week zero this week. What do you think of that, Connor?
It's come up quick, really quick. I have to shout out your inspirational intro video. I want to go donate to childhood brain cancer right now. That's how I feel after watching it. I love the music. First, the countdown had me feeling like I wanted to walk into a boxing ring, and then it really got inspirational and emotional. So I love the countdown, but I'm most excited because we're less than 2 weeks away. I think Saturday is our first official college football game. I will be watching college football that day. It won't be as exciting since it's not a full slate, but it's a taste. It's a start. It's getting our blood going because we're going to have to yell at our cameras right after something goes wrong in the UTEP game. I'm not sure what it is, but there will be something for you and I both to yell about. I can guarantee that.
It'll be a false start.
That'll start it, or a missed block on the left side, and Dylan gets hit from behind. It looks like he's going to be injured or something, and you and I both freaking have a heart attack. I already know.
Okay, it is. Here's the thing. I know that you have put out a number of videos. I hope that everybody's on the chat or the live stream now is subscribed and watching your videos. You've done videos on, let's see, you did a prediction video. You did a depth chart for both the offense and defense. You did bold predictions. You also did a video of yourself building a football helmet. What?
Dude, wait, actually. Hang on. I have to grab this to show it to you. I want you to see the details. Did you watch the video?
I watched part of it, and I thought, here's the thing.
Fast forward to the end, at least, to when I put it on. Dude, look at this thing. Are you kidding me? The effort that went into this deal. It's awesome.
That is kind of cool.
Trust me.
I watched for a little bit, and I thought, I used to have like some power tool skills, and they're all gone. If you want to do anything with IT, I can do it. But if you want to do anything else,
I'm the blue collar worker. You're the white collar guy. I totally get it, John. I totally understand. You
look like somebody hit you in the face right before this.
Dude, I'm going through it. I've got a bug bite here that turned into a little scar.
You were supposed to go with this story about how an Iowa guy attacked you.
I was going to, but I don't want to lie to the people. I don't want to get people amped up. When we get to Iowa or Colorado week, and once I'm actually around the fans, then we can what do they say, squabble, and then people can actually come to my defense.
Okay, getting ready for the season. I was going to say, you've done all this stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Tons.
You've done these videos. I honestly, my workload has been heavy enough that I have tried to present that I am paying attention, but I have been so buried and exhausted by some of the stuff I've been doing that I really haven't. I've watched. I mean, it's not like I'm living in a closet somewhere off in the desert. But what do you think? Okay, we'll just go with this. Yeah. What do you think the biggest thing people need to know about this Husker team? Because here's the thing. I've been doing this for years. There are tons of people that at the end of college football season, they disappear from Husker football, and then they come back like now when it's like 1 week before the season, and they start to catch up and they try to figure out what's going on. What's the number one thing that you think people need to know about the 2024 Nebraska football team?
So if you left in November and you decided I'm going to check out, I'm going to listen to recruiting a little bit, but then I'm going to come back right before the season kicks off, and I want to know the main points, the main talking points, and the reasons to be excited, I would tell you it's that the guys who they added to the roster are legitimate threats to play right away. They're going to make an impact right away, and they're going to make this team look a lot different than what we saw last year, at least on the offensive side of the ball. You have receivers who can actually take over a game. Isaiah Nayor has done it before. Jamal Banks has played against top 10 teams, and he's been productive in those games. You've got Jalen Lloyd back, Malachi Coleman, who now have experience, Alex Bullock, IGC, Ja'Cory Barney's a true freshman who will play, Carter Nelson. People thought, well, you're going to get guys like Carter Nelson and they're long-term development players. I am one of the people who thought that. He's really skinny. Right. There's no way he's going to come in at 6'6" and contribute right away at tight end. but then the staff figures out he's one of the fastest guys on the team and that he can be a legitimate threat at receiver. And we've got to get him on the field right now today. And he's going to play a lot. Janiron Bonner out of nowhere, who was playing fullback last year, is working in with the first and second group of receivers. I have no idea who's going to start at receiver. And I think that's the most exciting deal, right? You're going to have 6 rotators at receiver who are all going to get significant touches. And we can say we know who 3 or 4 of them are, but who are the other 2? So I think that's what you need to know about this team. There's legitimate talent who can help this team win the first 3 or 4 games of the season and get off to a hot start.
I'd say about all those players is this. Last year, Matt Rhule, I think we had some good players, but we didn't have any depth whatsoever. You kind of had to play the guys that could play football. I think this year, Matt Rhule, he made this recent thing about how the team plays differently when people are watching them. And he needs to find out if he's playing the right people, which is kind of basically like saying, do what I'm telling you, or you're not getting on the field. And I think the big difference between last year and this year is he now has depth where he can look at a guy who's might be more talented than the other guy and say, you know what, you're not doing what I'm telling you to do. You're not doing what I'm asking you to do. You can go sit over there and watch this guy that may not be as good as you, but he's doing what we expect of him. And I think that's a huge thing about bringing a team together and making them successful.
Well, you talk about why or how Matt Rhule is able to rise and climb the ranks at the last 2 schools and then get to the NFL, right? It was a consistent building process.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer spoke to it the other day. I don't know if it was on the Big Ten Network or where I saw it, but Urban Meyer talked about how Matt Rhule's been successful everywhere he's been. And because he has this proven track record, it means he's probably going to be able to do it again. Now, look at Nebraska's situation last year. He comes in, first-year head coach, inherits a roster that's a little bit depleted. Then they end up getting a bunch of guys injured quickly on or early on in the season. And then obviously the season unraveled from there. Year 2, they're going to have some more pieces. Year 3, they're going to have even more. And we already see that from an X's and O's standpoint, this coaching staff can do enough to get some of those bigger wins. And if they can consistently develop their talent, which he's done it for years now, they're going to have this loaded up roster. And that's what will build Nebraska into a consistent contender. And I don't know if they'll be a national title contender, but they will be a Big Ten contender. And they'll be at least fighting for playoff spots. If not every year, then every other.
Okay, I'm going to take some comments because I tend to wait too long. Highlander Gun says, who remembers the song Beer Run?
I've never heard Beer Run. Maybe that, I don't know. What is that?
I think there's several iterations of Beer Run. Okay. Charles Hullett says, I'm not going to show you guys my helmet, which is probably a good thing because I'm guessing that it's probably going to jail for that. James Boardman says the next edition of Chasing 3 debuts at 8:15 tonight, so we have something to watch after this.
Have you been watching those?
I've seen pieces of them. So I think they're very well done.
They're very well done, and there's a lot of info that you can take away. So I would suggest, John, I know you are a busy man and you've got a lot going on over there after work. You've got a wife to take care of, kids to hop on the phone with. I get it. But those videos are so solid. There's not that many of them. You only get, 6, 7 a year at most.
True.
Take time to watch them. Even if you got to watch them at 1.5x, you'll be able to get through a video in 30 minutes. You get a lot from them. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's pretty amazing that they do that stuff.
It's awesome.
It would be just so
Matt Rhule wants people to experience and see what it's like to actually play at Nebraska. And there's a lot of coaches who have that stuck up attitude. One coach in particular who Nebraska used to have didn't like when the media was involved, didn't like letting all the fans get access. And Matt Rhule's like, you know what? We're building a loving and nurturing culture. Let's bring people into that, because I think that's accurate to what he's trying to build in Nebraska. He's trying to make sure that he's uplifting his community and showing what it takes to be a better leader, a better coach, a better whatever it is. And now people are getting an inside look at how to do that. It's like free mentorship. It's awesome.
That's true. Justin Rogge says, I'm here to support Corn Nation. Thank you, Justin.
That's right.
William Coolish says, Connor rocks.
What's up, William?
Never mind me says, Connor has been busy today. Just watched his interview with Adam Carricker. How'd it go?
It went really well, actually. So Adam hasn't done content for a while. Actually, yeah. So Adam's really advanced, okay? Adam has come a far way on YouTube, or a long way on YouTube.
Right.
When I first met Adam, or was first connected with him, our conversation was about how do I transition over from just doing Facebook to building more on YouTube and everywhere else. And I was like, oh, here's some ideas. And he's so committed and he's so good at what he does that he was able to go out and build a team. He has a producer who's making content for him. That producer is actually my cousin who helped me start my channel way back in the day. And that cousin actually works at Rivals now. He works for the national team and for the local team. But anyway, Adam has done such a kick-ass job with his show that when he does take a long break, there's all of this content that he misses out on making, and you don't get all these thoughts. So I actually got his first interview back after at least a month and a half of him not making content. So I'm really happy we were able to talk because there are so many thoughts that he was able to share that I haven't got to hear from or, getting the inside in on since he's been, taking this hiatus.
Never mind me says, how do you get a star next to your name? I don't want one. I'm just curious. But we do sell memberships for like $2 a month or some damn thing. And
$2.99 a month. I'm joining right now, guys.
Are you?
Yeah, hang on.
Well, thank you.
Hold on.
I appreciate that.
I gotta go drop a comment in our chat just to make sure I'm a member. Yep, there it is. Welcome, Corn Crazed, new member. I love that. Okay.
Charles Hullett, when I said that, what was the most important thing this year? Charles Hullett says, I'm looking forward to fewer turnovers than we had with the last quarterback. I heard Sims is like third string at Arizona State. Great guy, great athlete, but butterfingers. I think, who was it? Sam Levitt was announced as a starting quarterback at Arizona State today, and Sims is second.
Well, Sam Levitt's a really good quarterback. So I don't want to bash Jeff Sims right now, right? Jeff Sims probably had the opportunity to earn that starting job, but he was going up against a really good QB in Sam Levitt, who Nebraska wanted. And actually, if he would have come to Nebraska over, what was the other guy's name? I can't even remember the quarterback from Ohio State now.
You mean now? Will Howard?
Number 6. Dude, he's so far out of my mind because we got Dylan Raiola. I don't even think about this guy anymore. I promise you the chat's going to know. What's the dude's name?
30?
No, Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord. Thank you.
Evanception
hit it. Okay, so Kyle McCord, before they thought they were going to get him, they thought that they were going to be able to pull away Levitt from Michigan State. And he would have actually been competing for the starting job at Nebraska. So as soon as he went to Arizona State, I knew with Kenny Dillingham, he was going to be the starter. So I was actually really surprised that Jeff Sims did go to that school, but less pressure when you're not trained to be the starting quarterback. There is always opportunity for a backup to come in, either earn a job or at least earn more playing time. Hopefully Jeff Sims gets it worked out. Jeff is an incredible athlete. He had that really good run against Colorado. He had a good run against Minnesota to start the year. I mean, there were flashes of hope. It's just tough, College football is unforgiving when you make mistakes like that.
Juan Camacho says, I love that Rhule adds last-minute guys like Amari Sanders and Keona Davis, not just because he evaluates the best of any coach I've seen.
Well, Amari Sanders, he's the corner. I think Amari Sanders is now competing for playing time.
Okay.
Over there with so the projected starters, I'm not sure if you're aware of what happened with the corner room.
No.
To simplify it, John,
tell me anyway.
Yeah, simplify it. They moved Marquise Buford to corner. Syer Wright is playing behind him. And it sounds like he's going to rotate with Bly Hill if Bly Hill's back in that mix. But Bly Hill could eventually come in and start again once he's fully healthy off of his injury. Amari Sanders is somewhere in that rotation with Tommy Hill. And I'm not sure if he's a second up or a third up, but Jeremiah Charles ended up hurting his hand. I believe it was his hand. And so because he's been out or not able to practice at 100%, Amari Sanders now has an opportunity to step in. So that's what's happening at the corner side. Keona Davis was the recruit from UCLA who they were hyped up to get. Then you have all the drama last minute with Chip Kelly. He bounces out of that program. Davis, instead of going to, I think it was Washington, he had like another Pac-12 school on the radar, comes to Nebraska. And I think it's Terrence Knighton who's hyping him up as one of the best guys in this entire class and potentially an Ndamukong Suh level player, which is, I mean, that's crazy praise, right?
It is.
Coach. And we've heard some things before. We heard Travis Fisher in the past hype Tommy Hill up. But to be fair, Tommy Hill has developed into one of, if not the best guy in terms of pro potential on this entire team.
Right.
And coaches know. So hopefully it works out.
He's probably one of the, I don't know, top 3 or 4 athletic guys.
Who? Tommy Hill?
Tommy Hill, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Top 3.
What about where's Malcolm Hartzog in all this?
Malcolm Hartzog's a safety. So you've got Malcolm Hartzog as one safety. You've got Isaac Gifford as the nickel or rover. And then the other safety is Deshaun Singleton, who we did get to see last year up until the Michigan game when he got hurt. But he showed a lot of promise, really good downhill tackler. He was a bigger guy. He was fast. I don't know if he was as good in coverage. I can't remember. I just remember him making a lot of great tackles. So you got Malcolm next to him. At the other corner was Tommy Hill, like I said, and then Marquise Buford. So a really experienced, and I think that's what they're going off of. They really want to make sure that defensive backfield is as experienced as possible so that they have as few of mistakes as you can possibly have, because you're going against a Colorado team early on who has tons of weapons. Travis Hunter, one of the best receivers in the country. They got this LeJohntay Wester from FAU, who I believe was All-American or all conference. I mean, All-American, but he was all conference. So what's his name's back? Jimmy Horn. They have a good tight end. I mean, they're loaded. So you got to make sure that you're in position to succeed early. And I think that taking limited risk is probably the best approach, especially given that Nebraska didn't have that much success as a defensive pass blocking team or a team against the pass against Colorado last year.
Right. You have this down.
Dude,
good job.
I've got so many thoughts about all these things, right? So when you pop them up on the screen or you ask me a question, I'm like, oh, I've already thought about this 100 times. So let me try to articulate it the best I can.
Okay. Living in Omaha, David Matney says, I think eventually it will come down to who isn't hurt. I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
It's in reference to the corners. It's in reference to the corners.
Yes.
He's saying that if Bly Hill comes back healthy, you could essentially move Marquise Buford back to safety. I'm not sure what that would mean for Malcolm Hartzog or for Deshaun Singleton. But at the end of the day, here's the bottom line. To win in the Big Ten, you need depth. To win at the end of the season in 3 of the most important games of the season, USC, who's going to be an exceptionally good team on offense, Wisconsin, who's just a freaking problem no matter what way they operate, and then Iowa, who takes advantage of Nebraska being sloppy. To win you need to be healthy.
Go ahead.
No, okay. Come on. That's it.
You're way too honest about this. You're supposed to be more homerific, aren't you?
No, I'm realistic.
I mean, Travis Hunter's one of the best receivers in the nation. You just said that.
He is. He is.
I know he is. God damn it. But I don't want to say it. I'm not saying it out loud.
Listen, Colorado, legit quarterback, top 3 quarterback in the country. Legit. Hold on, maybe top 2 quarterback in the country, legit athlete in Travis Hunter who can play both ways. They have some good receivers who are proven in Jimmy Horn and LeJohntay Wester, like I said. No idea what's going to happen with Dallin Hayden at running back. Jordan Seaton, I can promise you, is going to get exposed at left tackle when Nebraska presses the shit out of him in week 2, especially with Jamari Butler and Ty Robinson. And who knows what other kind of blitzes they're going to throw on his side. I mean, Shador is in for a long game that day, let me tell you. But I
agree with that.
Credit where credit's due. There are a few really good players on that team. I think their defensive end's another guy. I can't remember his name, but he's a preseason All-American. So there are good players on that team. We have to give them credit.
Fred Sacco. Does Fred ever show up at your live streams?
I haven't seen Fred before. What's up, Fred?
Okay. Fred's an interesting character. I'll just say that. He says, I like this Connor better than Michigan's. Can we have him steal their signals? Code name him Connor Mustang.
I like
Nobody will see it coming. It sounds like you could be a movie star.
Yeah, Connor Mustang, Connor Stallions. I like that. I like Connor Mustang better than Connor Stallions, actually. But yeah, thank you for liking me better. By the way, John, I know you're not a content guy, but there's a Netflix documentary coming out, or maybe it's on Netflix, maybe it's an ESPN, whatever it's going to be. It's going to be on Netflix. It's about the Connor Stallions scandal.
Yes.
That's going to be August 27th. I saw it. Another piece of content maybe worth watching.
Come on. It's going to be a puff piece for them. You know it is.
I don't know. You never know. They might actually take some shots.
David Matney says, question for Connor. What is the biggest area of concern for the team this year?
Man, that's a good question. Some people could say running back. Some people could say quarterback. I actually don't think that I'm concerned about either of those 2 positions. I think the running back room, although they aren't experienced recently because you had some injuries to some of the top 3 guys, And Emmett Johnson, although he was the starter for half the season last year, he doesn't have that much game experience. He's got 6 games under his belt. I think I'm most concerned about the offensive line and their health. You know, when you play in the Big Ten, you go up against some of the biggest and baddest dudes. And sure, Purdue lost Nick Scourton, who's a first-round pick, and now he's at Texas A&M. And then you've got Illinois, who lost a couple of their defensive linemen, so they're not going to be as strong up front. You're playing UCLA, again, another offensive line or a defensive line that's depleted. So you can look at it and say, well, this is going to be the easiest of the defensive fronts that Nebraska has had to face in the past few years. But at the same time, look at Nebraska's injury history on the offensive line. Someone's always going down. Last year, Ethan Piper was lost for the season, and then he had to medically retire. Nori Nuili missed multiple games. Turner Corcoran, I believe. Teddy Prohaska is always getting injured. I mean, he's done for the season, right? So you always have something pop up. The only consistent in this whole deal has been Bryce Benhart. Bryce Benhart has somehow managed to start every game in his career. He's been awesome, at least the last 12 games. He was patchy before that, but at least the right tackle's locked in. Micah Mazuka, again, I don't know his injury history. I think I did read something that said he had 1 year where he was a little off. But in the last 2 seasons, he started almost every single game, if not every game. So there is hope, but it's just a question, and it's something to look out for.
You missed Ben Scott. He's been...
Yeah, Ben Scott played all last year, and I wouldn't worry about him either. I'm not. It's more so guys who have an injury history that would concern me. I think Ben missed a few games at Arizona State, but he's not a problem, you know. Nebraska's whole injury deal last year, I don't know how much of that was bad luck versus how much of it was they weren't trained properly or they weren't as strong or big and they couldn't make it through an entire season. I would argue it's just bad luck. I think it's probably the most likely case when you lose however many starters that was. I think they lost 6 or 7 starters to injury in the first 8 games. So
right. Oh, come on. What was I going to say? I would say the biggest area of concern for the team this year, you didn't mention linebacker, but I don't think that's it. I do think the offensive line is just because I guess the offensive line for me is that's how the team goes.
Well, for fun, pose the argument at linebacker, though. What are your thoughts at linebacker?
Well, it wasn't a Javin Wright. It was out. He's gone for the year.
Yeah.
And that's a big loss.
It's a loss. He's good. And they didn't say he's gone for the year. They said he's out indefinitely. I'm not sure what that means. He's a stud. Okay. First off, he is the perfect player for that position because he's long, so he can defend the pass. He's fast, so he can come downhill and fill a hole. And he's experienced. Last year, he had over 50 tackles, right? So Javin Wright's a loss. But when you look at the other linebackers around him, they are absolutely stacked. Okay, you might not say they're stacked at inside linebacker, but if you add in Jack, they're stacked in the 2 deep. Makai Bayer, Prince Will Uman-Mielen.
Oh my God.
Those guys could line up inside if they weren't going to play Jack, and MJ Sherman had to play outside, right? In the worst case scenario, we're talking worst case right now, which is a little extreme, but we saw extreme last year. The other guys on the inside are John Bullock, Vincent Shavers, who's one of the most touted true freshmen on this entire team. I don't know what's going to happen with him. Is he going to be an instant rotator? Is he going to be a guy they work in early and try and make him a feature guy later in the season? I don't know, but it sounds like he's going to play a lot. You have Stephon Thompson from Syracuse, who's already played for Tony White, was all ACC at one point. So, the linebacker room, what are we talking about? That's not a concern.
Yeah, I think, though, I guess the one thing I bring up all the time is last year I looked at the game book after every game, and what I saw was they played so many players on defense that when people go, oh God, we lost this guy, that's going to be horrible. I think they played so many guys to get everybody experienced and actually playing on the field in this new 3-3-5 that I haven't worried about. I don't worry about the defense really. I mean, I know that, if you come up against like an Ohio State where they have 230 weapons on the field simultaneously, it's going to be damn difficult to cover everybody. But we still have a ways to go, I think, to beat Ohio State.
I think Nebraska's two recruiting classes away from consistently competing with Ohio State. Now, there's a world where Nebraska goes to Ohio State this year, keeps it within 7, and has a chance to win. No question. Anything can happen in football, right? But to consistently, or to win in a Big Ten championship game, for example, if Nebraska played Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, there's almost no way I would ever expect them to win that. There's a much higher chance that you catch them in the regular season because they're worn out or whatever. But I think we're 2 classes away. Got to get Rhule all the pieces he needs, and then we can have that conversation.
Vince Watson says, does Riola get a single digit as a freshman?
I think Riola is going to be one of the few who's up for that vote. So I think there was 5 numbers left over to get. Well, we can count them. Number 1, number 3, number 4, number 6, number 7. Yes. So you have 5 numbers.
Okay.
Riola to get voted for that would probably be up there with Marquise Buford Jr., Thomas Fedoni, Tommy Hill, Isaiah Nayor, or Jamal Banks, probably Jamal Banks. I mean, and then you've got Riola right there as 5. So yeah, I think there's a good chance he'll get voted. Now, here's the real question.
Yeah.
How dedicated is this dude to 15? How bad does he want to build his brand around the number 15? Because it's about money and brand at the end of the day. If he thinks this is going to be his brand and he's going to sell his merch off of it in the future, and when he goes and plays in the pros, he needs 15, you've got to lock 15 in now and make sure that that's your staple number. But
isn't there another 15 already out there in the pros?
Now, in the pros? Oh, you're talking about he could, he could piggyback off of Patrick though.
Yeah.
By the time he gets to the NFL, Patrick's at age 30. He's in the prime of his career, but I mean, you never know. Maybe Pat runs like Aaron Rodgers and goes till he's 40. But you would think the new era, maybe Dylan can take over the 15 and be the face. I don't know.
Oh, Dina Williams says O-line is a concern. We got through that.
And I don't know if it's a concern. I don't think it's a concern. I think it's something to
we have to worry about something.
I know. Let's not call it a concern, though. Let's just say realistically, we're monitoring the O-line because it's not a concern yet.
Nebraska Rascal says secondary is a big concern.
Okay. Secondary is a concern. I wouldn't call it a big concern. I would call it a concern. You want to see how they all work out together. We haven't gotten to see all these guys on the field at the exact same time. Tommy Hill didn't really come onto the scene until the second half of the season. Marquise Buford wasn't playing in the first half of the season. Deshaun Singleton only played the first half of the season, and Malcolm Hartzog has gotten burned multiple times playing corner. Is he better at safety? Right. I mean, there are a lot of questions, right? But all of these guys individually have shown signs of life and shown that they can be really good, at least as tacklers. How are they going to do in coverage? I agree. It's an area of concern and something I'm questioning.
Fred Sacco says scale of 1 to 10 for the offensive line. It's still 5 at best. Already lost Teddy. Depth wasn't amazingly awesome to start.
5
is
low. Okay, so you've got to think of it this way.
I think 5 is low.
I think you got to call them a 6.5, in my opinion. They're a 6.5, and I think they're somewhere around the 10 mark in the Big 10 or 11. So that would give 6 or 7 teams behind them. Nebraska has a legitimate draft pick in Bryce Benhart. He is going to be a 5th rounder, 6th rounder, whatever you want to call it, unless he improves and moves his way up to the 4th. But let's call him a 5th rounder. Micah Mazuka, they're saying now, is the best offensive lineman on the entire team. Right. His experience from his last 2 schools and being a top 12 run blocker in the Big 12 back in 2022 would obviously make him the best offensive lineman at Nebraska right now, at least from an experience standpoint. Ben Scott, maybe not a pro player, but will get pro opportunity. He could be a free agent. And Evan Jenkins or Justin Evans, you don't know what his future holds. He's really young. He's getting developed. He's played both guard and he's played center. So I think there's hope. I would say they're 6.5.
I like the 6.5 thing. Let's see. Charles Hullett, Connor Mustang, and Joey Freshwater go out with our previous head coach and cruise for the ladies.
Am I Connor Mustang?
Yes.
Who's Joey Freshwater?
I think Joey Freshwater, wasn't that a fake name that somebody used to use? I want to say, oh my God, see how bad my memory is. Charles Hullett did post in the comment, who's Joey Freshwater. I want to say that was, oh God, it was a quarterback that was a cheese bag. Anyway, Clay Castleholder, I really hope by week 4, one of the running backs pulls away in the race for RB. I don't think that there's going to, here's the thing. I think our running backs, people focus on a starter or a workhorse, and I think our running backs provide a different, Gabe Irvin is a different runner than Ramir Johnson. They're both different runners than Emmett Johnson, and then you add in the rest of those guys, and I think they just bring different things to the table. I mean, when you look at the NFL, go ahead.
They play very different roles.
Yeah. Like, I still think Ramir Johnson is one of the most explosive players on our team. He's just been injured, and I hope the guy has a whole season where he can show what he can do. But, in the NFL, when you look at players and stuff like that, you're looking at how do they match up against an opposing team. And you're going to play like a UTEP differently than you are going to play a Colorado. Against Colorado, honestly, I think we want to go out and pound the ball at them and just beat the shit out of them on the field, because I don't think their defense has much other than, Travis Hunter and a couple guys, but they don't have 11 guys that can stand up to constantly being beat at, and then, play action Jalen Lloyd over the top and stuff like that. And then, that's going to be different than you play against Ohio State or against Rutgers or against Purdue. So I don't think it's really, when you look at this, like we have a workhorse guy that we're going to hand off the ball to 25, 30 times a game. I think it's going to be, we're going to have a recipe for each game, and how does these players fit into that recipe?
I agree. I think we'll see 3 running backs all eclipse 300 or 400 yards rushing. And I think it'll be kind of a distribution, because I think they'll all do different things. I think at the end of games, or when you're trying to grind it out, you might go with Gabe Irvin. I think if you're trying to keep teams guessing, you go more with a Ramir Johnson, since he's more of an outlet guy and can catch it. And then I think if you're at every down situation, it's going to be Emmett Johnson. So,
my God, we have a lot of comments.
Good. You need the comments rolling for you, John. We need to make sure people keep you stimulated.
It's it. Or what are you saying? I'm old and I'll fall asleep?
Nope. I'm just saying we want to make sure that you're engaged.
Okay. Evanception. I thought of the band Evanescence or what? Okay. Do you think of any of the 4-star freshmen offensive linemen will see the field at all this season?
So I believe that the opportunities to get freshman offensive linemen in the game will only come either on special teams, like on the field goal unit, or against Northern Iowa or UTEP or any other game where Nebraska's winning in a blowout. In most cases, those true freshman offensive linemen are just going to be redshirted, and they'll hold them out until next year. And then they'll start to get worked in as redshirt freshmen. And then by their sophomore year, they start to get worked in as guys who play some sort of a role. But to play or see any like starting level anything from a freshman offensive lineman is extremely unrealistic. And I don't think Nebraska will see that at all this year. I think you'll see a few plays from a guy like Grant Bricks, for example, but we're not going to see much.
Don Dre says, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid until Nebraska beats Colorado. Do you remember last season?
Wait, that's fair, but
it is.
Beating Colorado shouldn't make you drink Kool-Aid. I'm just going to say that right now. Colorado is potentially, or most likely, a 6-win team. Do not get too excited if Nebraska beats Colorado. It's going to feel good inside because we hate Colorado. It's going to feel good around the country because everybody hates Dion. But it's not going to give us any indication that Nebraska's back or Nebraska's good. It's just going to give us that feeling, that warmth of, God damn, I'm so happy I don't have to deal with hearing all this negativity about Nebraska anymore for losing to shitty Colorado.
Do you remember last season when I told you after we lost to Colorado and I said,
John, I'm 30 years old. My memory has not faded yet.
Oh, wow.
What are you going to tell me after the loss to Colorado?
I don't know. I forgot.
Don't prove me right here, John.
Okay, last year after the Colorado game, I got a hold of you and I said, your traffic dropped into the toilet, didn't it? It dropped into the basement because so many Nebraska fans just gave up on last year after we lost to Colorado.
I'll tell you what, my traffic went through the roof when Nebraska lost to Colorado. My live stream after the Colorado game, I was with Minnie, okay? I remember I was with Minnie leaving the stadium, and I was with a few other friends, and we're going over to a bar to watch the Iowa versus Iowa State game. Just trying to find some joy in life. Watch Iowa State beat Iowa or something, you know what I mean? I sat on that live stream in the middle of Colorado's campus, beautiful campus. I loved everything about the University of Colorado. The whole area was cool. Boulder was nice, right? My views were up. It was a great time. I thought, you know what? Even though Nebraska lost to Colorado, at least I'll be able to rant and make negative content. Then 2 days later, I go and I make a video where I talked about Jeff Sims needing to be benched. Views are up. As soon as I go back to talking about Nebraska football and not being Debbie Downer, my views absolutely tank. So yes, you are correct. It was a bad time. It was a frustrating time. And I didn't realize that Colorado can be such a pain. But yeah, it was.
Many, by the way, we will be bringing you on in a little bit.
Oh, I love that.
I'm looking for a reaction.
Love that.
So, put on something presentable for God's sakes.
Yeah, Minnie. Clean up and come prepared for John.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Fritz Echo says Dylan is already number 1 in one Chatterfield panelist's heart. That would be Minnie the Stalker. Let's see. Aaron Rostowski says Corcoran has been said to be having one of the best camps even before Prohaska went down. If Ben Hart can play like he did last year, so can Corcoran.
Corcoran has a chance to come back and be good. One of the things that's hurt Corcoran the most is he got injured early on. I don't remember what season it was, but he got injured and he didn't look the same after that. That's very common with a lot of these guys. So all he needs is to put it all together one time and he can totally reinvent himself and really build back his name, because the Nebraska fan base, as we all know, has taken some shots at him for having really, really low grades in the past.
Yes. Charles Hellett says Joey Freshwater was the name Lane Kiffin used at bars.
Oh, then I'm 100% hanging out with Joey Freshwater. Love Joey Freshwater.
Yeah.
Huge Joey Freshwater fan. I'm actually, hold on, John. I'm so excited. I'm going to my first ever Ole Miss game this season. It's during Nebraska's bye week. It's Ole Miss hosting Georgia. How exciting is that? Joey Freshwater will be amped on the sideline. I can tell you that.
I would, if I was young, I would be going to all the games I could.
Well, pause. You messaged me a couple weeks ago talking about my plans for Colorado.
Yeah.
What was, I thought maybe that meant you were going to come.
Oh, I'm going to go to Lincoln I've been asked by too damn many people to.
John, we're going to meet in person?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think our guys are trying to get together, trying to figure out how we can all meet, all our writers and whoever wants to get together on Friday night at some bar in the Haymarket.
Oh, dude, perfect. Me and Minnie are going to meet you there.
Yeah, I am not very good at organization, so I'm leaving it up to other people. I don't plan anything because if I plan things, they go awry, and then I have to tell people, and then people put all sorts of demands on me, and I just like, anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
I'm Red Wine 65 says I'm going with Emmett and more muscle on him to break the tackle. Emmett Johnson really showed, I think last year when, we lost other guys, Emmett Johnson showed that he could be a feature back because he kind of has, he does have some of the strength of Gabe Ervin. He does have some of the scattiness, explosiveness of Ramir Johnson. I think he's a good all around back and probably a guy, depending upon the circumstances, probably going to start a lot of games this season.
Oh, yeah. I think he's going to be the feature back. I think he's the one that they'll lean on in the beginning to be that balanced every down back. And then you'll see you'll see Gabe Ervin and Ramir Johnson get worked in to be more situational role players. But I'm going to bet that Red Wine's right on this. Okay.
Dana Williams says concern number 2, kicker. Special teams is we didn't bring this up, but
yeah,
he stabbed us. Dana has stabbed us collectively.
Yeah, that one I can't defend. I 100% agree. Dana, the kicking game is a problem. The punting game is a problem. I can't answer to it. And I think the whole deal is, how do you train that? You already have kickers who can make every kick, who are awesome. Their power's great. I mean, they're healthy enough. They're ready to roll. But it's all mental. Who can do it when the pressure's on? I go back to that Ohio State game when they played Georgia. They were a field goal away, John. They were a field goal away from playing TCU and winning the national championship. Yep. And the kicker, when the goalposts were here, sent it about 30 yards that way.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with his ability. It had nothing to do with his health, his leg strength, none of that. It had to do with his brain. He said, he walked out there and he said, I am kicking this for the national championship right now. Kick this and we win the natty. And he couldn't do it. And for whatever reason, Alvano last year was going out there and put way too much pressure on himself. The dude's a solid kicker. He just needs to calm his nerves and figure it out.
Aaron Keene says Connor has never done a video from the crapper, I'm betting.
No. I have not. I'm protective of my brand. John doesn't give a shit.
What's a brand?
That's a good question.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
unnecessary.
Okay. Michael Rollo asked the question. The odds Danny stays through the end of his career. Now, listen.
Wow, Michael, the ballsiness of this question.
Yeah, I've been trying to work on my Yoda impersonation. You remember when he first met Luke Skywalker and he goes, never his mind on where he was or what he was doing. And that means never in the now. You're always looking to the future. What if Tony White leaves after this year? What if, come on, man. Okay. Odds Danny stays through the end of his career.
Okay. I never back down, John. And I'm not that guy who gives the politically correct answer. I'm not a politician out here. I keep it real.
Okay. You're keeping it real.
Keeping it real. Look.
That's your brand.
Yeah. Look. Nebraska is recruiting really good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I am of the belief that Danny is a better pocket passer than he is a dual threat quarterback.
Right.
I'm also of the belief that if Dylan was to leave and Nebraska recruited a guy who was a dual threat stud, say Dayton Riola, or someone of, that kind of caliber who can move around a bit. I don't know that this would be true. This is just a guess, but I think it would be tough for Danny to win the job. In that case, do I think Danny stays at Nebraska to be the starter for 1 year? Or does he realize, Rhiola's been here this whole time. Nebraska's recruiting other good players. If I want to start and Matt Rhule's telling me I'm a good QB and I'm ready to play, do I wait it out here? I'm now going into my junior season. Do I stick it out, or is it time for me to hit the road and go be a starter somewhere where I can actually play? I think Danny has the potential to start at Nebraska eventually. I do not know that Danny, after he gets developed and becomes a good QB, a good enough to be a starting QB, I don't know if he wants to stay and be patient, because what's the point? If you want to be an NFL quarterback, and if he has the potential, like if his quarterback coaches and Matt Rhule say, hey, look, you have the tools. It's just, we've got a guy in front of you who's really freaking good. I think Danny might find it hard to say, I'm going to stay at Nebraska. It's time for me to get out of here. And trust me on this one. There are schools who would pay him real money. I don't know how much money Nebraska's ever going to give him unless he's a starter.
I think that, with this, I just like to say to my fellow old people, we need to get over this idea that, a guy needs to be committed to something or needs to be loyal. It's just bullshit. Okay. There's an article that was written in the 90s in the Omaha World Herald, and it was about how many players had transferred out of Osborne's team. And it was close to 50% 1 year because there were so many players that were so good, guys knew they weren't going to start at Nebraska, so they went other places. So this idea that players used to always be committed and be loyal, well, throw that shit out the window, because Danny Kaelin, if he has the chance, like Hunter said, to get to the NFL, he owes it to himself to try to take that chance. It would be stupid of him not to. So you have you can choose between they should be committed and they should be loyal, or be a moron that they're bypassing millions of dollars that they can make for themselves.
The argument,
irresponsible. That would be irresponsible. That's what that would be.
On the flip side, you could say Daniel Kaelin is going to be the guy who goes to school for 5 years. The first 3, he redshirts and sits behind Riola. Riola then leaves, and now he's got 2 years to potentially do it. So there's an argument both sides here. It's just, how good are the quarterbacks that Nebraska's bringing in behind him? Because if Nebraska's recruiting at an extremely high level, if Dylan, okay, let's paint a picture, John. Let's be real, okay? I talked about being realistic. Dylan Riola finishes this year a Heisman contender next season. Next year, he finishes an All-American, third team, honorable mention, whatever you want to call it. The year after, he's in the Heisman voting, okay? If that all happens, and even if he's not in the Heisman voting, he's one of the top 5 QBs getting taken in the draft, okay? What happens to quarterback recruiting? Every quarterback wants to come to Lincoln.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about whoever the next Julian Sayin is or the next Dylan Raiola, Daniel Kalen's got to beat them out. So maybe Daniel Kalen's at Nebraska for 2 seasons where he has an opportunity to be a starter. But with the true freshman QB, they keep him as a starter. But then as a sophomore, that true freshman QB might be so damn good, he overtakes, right? So you just never know. There are so many ways it could go. It's so hard to speculate on these things because it comes down to how long's this guy going to stay, and then how much development will there be? How ready is Kalen to start immediately? There's so many factors. It's tough.
What do you think of? Okay, we got Raiola, Harburg, Kalen, and the new NAI guy. I'm gonna have to do something where I post rosters on the wall or something so I can remember all the names.
No. Just memorize the names.
Oh, that's the problem with thank you so much, you son of a bitch. Names are hard. I can memorize like IT stuff anyway, but names. What's the name of the NAI guy?
Jalen Gramstad.
Okay, what's his chances of coming in and playing?
I would say extremely high. Look at Nebraska over the past few years. Nebraska has not made it through a season with 1 quarterback. They don't even make it through a whole season with 2 quarterbacks. They always need a third. Now, Matt Rhule knows I cannot afford to go into the Wisconsin, USC, or Iowa game too light. Right. I need a healthy QB if I'm going to win those games. And keep in mind, those games could be deciding factors on Nebraska, not only competing for a Big Ten championship, but an extra spot in the playoff, right? So if I'm Matt Rhule, if I'm Satterfield, I'm figuring out how do we get enough of a lead to where I can bench Dylan or I can bench Harburg to keep my top 2 healthy and put in Jalen Gramstad as a game manager to finish this thing off. Get Jalen in the game. I want to, by the end of this season, I hope Jalen Gramstad plays such a significant role in mop-up duty that I want to wear his jersey. That's what my dream is. His job should be keep the top 2 options healthy, keep the game changers healthy. And if you want to keep him healthy, put the game manager in. Jalen could be the game manager. That's my hope. That's my dream. We'll see how it plays out.
Clay Casselder says over under Raiola's pass completion 63%.
Over under? That's a really tough one. I think Clay set that line perfectly. Clay, are you a Vegas odds maker? I think I would take the over in this case. I would say like 63.5%, 64. I'd take the over. But it's tough. That's a great line. It
is. That's a hard one to hit too. The first-year quarterback. Wait. I don't know. Is it that hard to hit as a first-year quarterback? You're doing the research.
Let's see what Adrian Martinez does. Yeah, out of respect for what we're talking about, right? So Adrian Martinez, as a true freshman at Nebraska, came in, played immediately. Keep in mind, his first game was against a Power 5 team who he lost to. He threw 340 passes. He played 4.6% his throws. Give me the damn over, John. Dylan Raiola over 63%. Put the freaking mortgage on it. Are you crazy? If Adrian could do that, Dylan's doing it. Dylan did it already in my head.
Okay. So 65. You're going with 65.
Absolutely.
Okay. Evan Seption says TJ Lateef is coming too as of right now. So there's another, top flight quarterback.
Dual threat, can move around, plays in the Trinity League. That's the league that I played in when I was in high school. And that's a great conference. So he can come in just like Daniel Kalen. He's went to the Elite 11. And he could compete early on. So it's really tough to make that argument for the Daniel Kalen situation with all these good QBs.
Fred Sacco, this is the Fred Sacco lines we're looking for. Fred Sacco says Deion Sanders is coming too, but his toes aren't. There you go.
Fred's terrible.
He is. Tiger Shark Driver, will Kalen redshirt this year? I'll say yes.
Yes, he's redshirt.
You can play 4 games. You can play 4 games and still have a redshirt. I think 1,000%. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is very cool.
What's the Tony Washington says? What's the scouting report on UTEP 2:30 on Fox? I believe.
John hasn't even done the research on Nebraska, and you're asking him about UTEP, Tony.
But okay. Wow, you're getting your shots in, man.
John, I gotta mess with you while I got you. Hey,
Yeah, that's true.
I know as much about UTEP as you do. Okay, I might know a little bit more because I played a game of EA Sports College Football, and UTEP was my opponent, so I might know that much more than you. But I don't know yet. Scouting report on UTEP is this: they've got a new coach. He brought in a ton of transfers from the last school he was at, which was an FCS school. Can't even remember which one it was, but he brought in a bunch of guys. Now, some of those guys were FCS All-American level players, and they're preseason All-Conference USA players. How fast do they gel together? I don't know. Is Nebraska going to be able to handle them? Absolutely. So I am going to do my report on that. I will have a preseason or a pregame prediction go up and a little preview, but I have not done that or started that research yet.
By the way, if you go to the front of Corn Nation, you'll find opponent previews. There's a box there for opponent previews. Mike Jackson does those, and he does a very thorough job. But I think UTEP is projected to win like 5 games this year. So
they are.
Okay. Don Dre says, John, you should incorporate Connor into the Corn Nation family.
Is there a Corn Nation family?
Well, yeah. We have a website full of Agava writers. We cover many sports. Minnie is interviewing people on her own now.
Minnie is getting to work?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Shout out to Minnie. How did you meet Minnie? Minnie's awesome.
Okay. So should I bring her in? Minnie, we're bringing you in.
So look, Minnie has always done really good research, and Minnie's got a whole setup. Wait, Minnie, you've got a whole Nebraska background?
You've not paid attention to this offseason. See this?
Dude, I've been busy, John. I've got to work. I've got to make content. There's a lot going on over here. I had no idea Minnie set it up.
I did. Yeah, I took my notes from you, Connor.
She's with us now, but you cannot take her.
All right, so you guys have a whole family that I didn't know about.
We do have a family.
How did Minnie get incorporated into the Corn Nation squad?
You know what? Here's the thing. I am a crusty old man. Greg Mahachko is he's the homer guy that is always going to predict we go 12-0. Minnie was always in our chats. She was always a positive person. And I thought, people need more than me just being a crusty old bastard all the time. And so I asked her to join us, and she's done a fabulous job. She did one thing that I've been trying to do great with Greg for years, and that is to actually get organized where we have like a list, because he goes for like 2 hours, and I can't do that anymore.
She sent me notes before to help me with my shows, and she goes and gets all the details. I know how thorough she is. That's awesome. So you went the old ugly guy with the hot younger girl look to try and offset it. Well, you're so smart, John. See, you do know about branding.
I have the hair. This is cult leader hair. What do you think?
Yes, he does.
Cult leader hair is crazy. Okay, so
if you want to have a cult, you have to have one of two things. You got to look like Jesus or Joel Osteen, and I ain't doing Joel Osteen.
Crazy.
Okay?
Well, I'm glad that I'm now being informed about the Corn Nation family, so that when we do all meet up and get a picture, you, Minnie, and I can take a picture together, and it can be, caption over the picture can say the Corn Nation family, and I'm part of it.
Well, there's but you have to see, Don, if I was going to answer you properly, it would be that Connor has his own brand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the whole brand thing. Where you build on that. And he's doing very well with it. But our Corn Nation families, I don't know, there's probably like 12 of us now.
Well, you guys are killing it. Listen, I know you're killing it because I pay attention.
Oh.
Now, I don't have time to watch every video, but I do see the stuff that goes up. I do notice. Minnie has told me that she has done videos on your channel, so I am aware of everything. It's just hard for me to find time to watch every video and every piece of content.
I get that.
Dude, there are a million Nebraska content creators.
Yeah, there are. I think the thing, oh, come on, I just had a thought and it went away. See that? There are a million Nebraska people, and there will be more if we start getting good again. And I think that
that's true.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, for you people listening, when you start doing content, you lose the ability to follow other people's content because it takes so much time to do this stuff. And I actually have been focusing a lot on my history channel. I'm doing the hardcore history of college football kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I did watch the video that you sent me from that. That was very cool. I was so happy you started that. That fits your brand really good too, because you're a good speaker and storyteller. Obviously, you've done your research. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And plus it's a channel where I don't swear at all. It's kind of amazing.
You don't swear on that one?
I don't swear. It's my chance to actually be professional and like you said, tell stories about college football history. Anyway, where were we at when we were
answering
questions? Yeah, how did you meet Minnie? Did we cover that?
You told me how Minnie got incorporated and how you brought her in because she was watching the content. This is the thing, John. Here's why I asked and why I brought it up. I told Minnie a long time ago, because she was one of my subscribers who I was communicating with early on. She had always done good research and she was really knowledgeable on Nebraska football. And I was like, man, you'd be good at making content or talking about it, because she told me she's so passionate about it. And she said, no, she did that same thing. That face she just made, she did that. She goes, no, I would never. No. I was like, what? I was like, the amount of time you spend talking about it. I mean, she's texting me thorough paragraphs with all this detail. I said, you would be great. But she said, no, I would never. So the fact that you were able to convince her is amazing.
I'm a good salesman.
That's what it is.
No,
I think it's good for people who are Nebraska fans and who are educated about what's going on to get on camera and share their thoughts and opinions. So that's why I'm happy about it.
Maybe I'm a good cult leader. Maybe that's it. What do you think, Minnie? We just talked over you.
I just think you guys are awesome, both of you. And I can't love Connor enough. He's the best. I'm so impressed that you made another helmet video.
Did you guys really quick? Did you watch the helmet video?
I did, but I loved also the first helmet video.
Oh, you watched that one as well?
Yeah, that was like one of the first
videos. So bad.
That was a great video.
John, when I first started my channel, I bought a Nebraska helmet off eBay. Well, no, it was a Rhule helmet, and I spray painted it myself. I was out in my little yard area off my patio, and I built this whole helmet. It was one of my first YouTube videos I ever made. I was so proud of it. And I go back and watch it now, and I'm so disgusted, ashamed, and embarrassed of myself. I'm like, God, I was such a dork. So when I went and made this new video, I was like, I'm going to make myself look cool.
No, it was great. By the way, John, I'm just supposed to be behind the scenes, and you have 25 comments waiting.
Oh, let's pull up some comments. We got to make sure we answer those. I don't want to keep people waiting.
Come on. There's a lot. Oh my God. Okay. James Boardman, when Corcoran is healthy, he's an open door at left tackle. He's being pushed by two redshirt freshmen right now. I expect Godala to take over in the Colorado game.
Wait, James, you're saying when Corcoran is healthy, he's an open door, meaning anyone can come through. I mean, I would argue that although that has been what he was in the past, that there has been a change this season, or at least this offseason, because we're hearing that he's beating out Prohaska, who wasn't an open door. Prohaska's had his fair share of issues because he was coming off injuries multiple times. But I just don't believe that to be true. I think if Corcoran is what you're saying he is, he would be further down the depth chart. Or you could be right, and the guys behind him are atrocious. Here's what it tells me that Corcoran's in the front. It tells me either he's better than he was before, or the guys behind him are so bad that we're resorting to what he is, which would be really unfortunate. I don't believe that to be the case.
Okay. How do you
Whittet.
Whittet official says Harburg is starting QB1.
Come on.
Whittet, he also says Nebraska back-to-back national champions 2024.
I think Whittet's trolling us. Whittet's just trolling us.
Yeah. Let's see. I think
just trying to get a reaction
here. John swimming with them piranhas and great whites.
Piranhas?
Piranhas. I think that's oh my God. Fred Sacco says Minnie's hair on John would be perfect for our Young Guns viewing night. You know, I could dye my hair.
What is Young Guns viewing night?
You know what? A long time ago, somebody said they were making fun of Young Guns. You know the movie?
No.
Oh my God, you're young. Okay,
What year was
Kiefer
it made? Wait,
Sutherland.
what year was it made?
Look it
Like,
up. You're
the
faster
year
than I
you
am.
were born.
The year I
Probably.
was born. It was
Okay,
made in
they wanted-
1988. God, that movie's older than I am. Okay, continue.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, somebody said they've been making jokes about me being part of the Young Guns crew or movie or something. And Greg made a joke about how much would it cost for you to watch this online with us. And I said $100. And of course, somebody puts up a freaking super check for $100.
Did
And
they?
Yes, and I can't figure out how to do this without copyright violations. I mean, we tried watching it during a live session, which is really not a good idea.
Okay.
You know, because it basically got cut off. So the Young Guns is an ongoing joke, a running joke about being part of the Young Guns cancer.
Okay.
Charles Hullett says Dylan's tears cure cancer. You know, I know this. They might be curing whatever is ailing us now that college football season is going to stop. I don't go on Twitter very much, and because the reason I don't go on Twitter very much is you just get caught up in all the just screaming and all the stuff that's not really football stuff I want to talk about. You know, it's just
I get it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and be honest. When you've been doing this for like 20 years, you really can't just do the same content. A lot of people can if they're doing this for a living because that's what they do. I can't do the same content I've been doing for 15 years. And some of the stuff during the off season is just like becomes inane to me. And if I go on Twitter, it's like, oh God, not this shit again. And I'm now we're a week away from week 0 where everybody has to leave me alone. My clients know if they call me on a football Saturday and I have to work with them for a half hour, they're getting billed for a fucking day.
That's right. Put them in their damn place, John.
Yeah.
That's right.
They explained it is Nebraska football time. Somebody better be dying or the freaking country better be falling apart for you to call me on Nebraska football time.
That's right.
And they get to have pain because of it. Anyway. That's what it's going. Okay. Aaron Keene says John could sell gravy from a truck. You probably don't know this one either. I want to talk to you about a business I was thinking of starting.
Gravy from a truck, John?
A food truck. You know, it's a food truck, but we just sell gravy.
Whose recipe?
Well,
you're not going to you're going to go on TikTok. You're going to find a gravy recipe and sell that, aren't you?
Well, do they have them on TikTok?
John, are you not on TikTok? They got everything on TikTok.
I know they do. I avoid TikTok. I do have reasons for avoiding TikTok that I'm not going to say publicly, but there you go. A food truck.
Okay.
With gravy.
I like that idea.
You bring whatever you want. We put gravy on it.
That's awesome. That's a great idea.
No tuna gravy, though. We have established nobody wants tuna gravy.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the kind of shit that you're missed from the off season and not seeing.
Why am I not watching these shows? What am I missing?
Yeah. That's a fantastic stuff. Highlander Gun says, imagine Minnie's hair on John. That's no, don't do
We already did that one, John.
Yeah. Did we? Oh,
yes, we did that one. John, the memory.
Come
on. You in chat.
There's so many. There's so many. Witted official says 54 to 51. We beat UTEP. We're not giving up 51.
Stop posting Wittit's comments. He's trolling us. We already know Wittit's just looking for a rise.
Let's see. What? Husker Nation 1 says, low key, I'm worried about UTEP. I need to see this team before we are a great team.
Pause there. Pause there.
Yeah.
Low key worried about
need to take this.
Need to see this team before we're a great team. Okay, Nebraska does not need to be great to beat UTEP. Nebraska needs to be serviceable. Nebraska needs to show up. They need to at least score 17. But Nebraska could only score 17 and still win this game. I'm confident that Nebraska's putting up 28 plus on them. Nebraska needs to be decent. They don't need to be great. And once we know and can confirm they're decent, then we'll know they're good enough to beat UTEP. I would argue that we will know they're decent after the first quarter.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it only takes a quarter to know you're decent because you don't have to win games to be decent. You have to go 6-6 to be decent, right?
True.
Well, you can see after the first quarter if this team is going to be good enough to go 6-6, just based on the talent.
Yeah, I think that there's so many pieces in place. I mean, think about last year. First year of a 3-3-5 defense, and we're one of the best defenses in the nation. You're in year two with that defense.
Let's pause right there. I don't want to say that because I've done that, and it's so wrong to say. Nebraska was not one of the best defenses in the nation. They were statistically one of the best defenses in the nation. Nebraska had a really good defense, but they were not an elite defense. Nebraska had a dominant defense against the teams they played against, but if you would have put them against top tier offenses every week, I think it would have been a different outcome. I think they were good, but not great.
Well, in year one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Totally justified that they weren't.
They showed that they could play defense.
1,000%, which is something we haven't seen in a long time. We had seen it one time in the entire Frost era.
Yeah. And now we're going into year two, and we have more guys with which to play defense. So I think if we have even an average offense, we're going to win. What I saw something earlier, but I think I can't remember, it was on Twitter or something like that. We are playing a whole bunch of teams that are, if you looked at like over under gambling projections, there's not many of them that are predicted to even win 8 games.
You're talking about this season?
Yeah.
Okay. This season, I think the number was 7 teams are projected to win 7 or less.
Yeah. So I don't think the schedule it's going to be tough at the end, but I don't think it's over daunting. Like, oh my God, we're going to be terrible. So I would say don't be low key worried about UTEP. Be low key worried about Colorado just because it's going to be a huge, huge game. And, you know, they do have some weapons.
Okay.
Then you jump in.
Can I show a comment, please?
Of course.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that UTEP had the top recruiting class in their conference?
This is the type of shit I'm talking about, John. She knows stuff that we don't because she does the research that we won't.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
okay,
look,
so they're bringing their top recruiting class in your first year. I mean, it's still going to be rough.
Exactly, it's still going to be rough.
You still got to get all the guys together. You still have to get them going.
UTEP year 2, it'd be different.
Yeah. I got all these young guys coming on campus. There's, you know, college women all over the place. Your first year of college. And
UTEP women, I mean, what's the expectation for UTEP women?
Have you ever been to El Paso?
I've been to El Paso, and that's why I'm bringing this up, John.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to disparage El Paso.
We keep it real on this show. We keep it real on this show.
I'm not going to disparage El Paso.
Sure.
Somebody would come find me from there.
Blame me. I'm the problem, not John. John is woke and he's appropriate.
Fred Sacco says Connor hasn't heard of gravy either. It was created before he was born. Connor, what is your favorite gravy dish?
What's a gravy dish? I thought you put gravy on mashed potatoes.
Gravy, biscuits and gravy would be a.
Oh, I've had that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd say that's the only gravy dish I know. Wait. I'm cultured. I've been to Canada. I've had poutine, and that has gravy served over.
That's kind of a gravy. Yeah.
So I've had a gravy dish before.
Do you know what shit on a shingle is?
Sounds disgusting.
Yes.
Is it food?
Yes.
What a way to describe food.
It's chipped beef on like usually biscuits or potatoes.
It's chip beef.
Chipped beef. It's like a dried, let's say a dried beef. I think if I remember right, it's
like
been
beef
a long
jerky?
time. Not quite beef jerky. Think more like oh my God, like a bacon, or like let's say this, like a deli meat that's been not. No, I take that back. More like let's say, God dang it, I just had it.
Is this
more like
Minnesota, John?
No, we're gonna go on. Look up shit on a shingle after the show. We gotta, somehow we gotta pass the culture on to you young people.
Listen, I live across the street from a veggie grill, so that tells you what I'm eating.
Okay, well,
it was invented before avocado toast.
Okay, yeah. I am very familiar with avocado toast.
Okay, Tiger Shark Diver says 42-14 UTEP.
That's
over
right.
UTEP. Over
that
UTEP.
is a lot more accurate.
Yeah.
And it actually represents how I'm feeling about that game.
Remrex says, has anyone watched the 1971 game of the century?
not from start to finish, but I have seen like a 15-minute cut up. And what is Minnie holding up? The game
She's
of the
holding
century?
up a very, very good book.
There's a book
called
about
Game
it?
of the Century. Oh God, yes.
There's-
It's an excellent book. I think I have. Well, I have the same book.
I had no idea there was a book about it.
Okay. People actually
There's a
used
book.
to write a lot of books. When I started Corn Nation in 2006, one of the things I did was I started reading as much books as I could get my hands on so I could learn college football history. And I reviewed that book when it came out years ago, and it is an excellent book about the game of the century.
Okay, I should check it out. Really quick on the game of the century. So I have this hobby that I've recently taken up. I'm collecting tickets, vintage ticket stubs from 1930 to like 1990. And one of the stubs I came across was a PSA graded game of the century ticket with the Oklahoma vintage helmet on it. It was $800. I didn't pull the trigger because I ended up buying everything to build that helmet instead, but I might have to buy that ticket. I mean, I love collecting Nebraska stuff, and having a ticket from the game of the century over 50 years ago would be pretty freaking awesome.
You like collecting stuff?
I do.
You might like this.
What?
Fred Sacco says, I have the game of the century with old game film and Lyle Bremser's commentary dubbed over it.
See, that's what I need to watch. If I'm going to watch it, I got to watch it the right way. And that feels
Fred,
like
you need to figure out how to send that to us.
We got to figure out how to upload that to YouTube so we can watch it.
Yeah.
Let's do an unlisted link on YouTube so we can watch it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Otherwise, they'll copyright it and take it down.
There's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh my God, we have 23 comments. Let's see.
You're freaking popping, John.
What?
I said you're popping. You've got a popping community.
Well, it's time to prepare for the season. Greg says she definitely does the research on the 5 heart. That puts Putz Mahachko is worthless. That'd be Greg, our host. What a
that's his nickname is Putz Mahachko.
Putz. You've never heard the word putz either?
He's a putz.
I've heard the word putz, but I don't know what it means.
Kind of like
John?
Old wiener.
I'm going to go look it up on Urban Dictionary, and that'll tell me what it is.
It probably isn't even in Urban Dictionary.
Not in Urban Dictionary.
Try it right now while I look for the next comment. Husker Nation 1 says, sorry guys for my earlier comment. I guess I just had PTSD from South Alabama 2019, North Dakota 2022, and Georgia Southern 2022. I think that honestly, that's a fair comment. I think Nebraska fans, we have dealt with a fair amount of PTSD.
We all have, and we've all made comments out of our reactions to what we've watched before.
Yeah. And Nebraska hasn't started the season 1-0 since 2018? Was it?
Yeah, I can't fault him for thinking that because it's been a long road down.
Yeah.
I found Putz, by the way.
Yes.
Putz is on Urban Dictionary. It says literally vulgar slang for penis, not to be used lightly. Is that what it is?
No.
Wow.
No. Okay, Urban Dictionary doesn't have
Greg.
it updated.
A putz is just like an idiot.
So basically, all of you guys have your own special nicknames. Putz is a schmuck. I know what a schmuck is.
Okay, a putz is a schmuck. Right?
Okay.
Urban Dictionary says that about putz?
Yeah, it says it's a penis.
Who writes that stuff? Oh my
Urban
God.
Dictionaries that's how you figure out what people are saying on TikTok. Like if you're scrolling TikTok too much and then you see a word pop up, you got to go find out what it means.
Yeah. It's terrifying. Husker Bob way back a little while ago says at 8:35 said the worry elephant in the room is special teams, all of them.
Except for the return team, not the return team. I do feel like the return team's going to be better, but everything else,
the interesting thing is I did an interview with Ramsey Nasrallah, my friend who's an Ohio State guy. He runs 11 Warriors, the website. And he talked about the fact, when you look at Ohio State, they're geared to win a national title and crush everything in their path, except for their special teams is not very good. And I think the key is can you put them in a position where they could lose because of that? And number two, I honestly, I look at Ohio State, God, they have so many weapons. They have so much all around the place that I don't even think anybody's going to get that close to them, honestly. You know what? Let's see. Okay,
What's
did
interesting
that
is that Ohio State can't get as many strong kickers or punters as Iowa's had. How is Iowa so dominant in that department, but a team like Ohio State hasn't been able to match that production? I don't get it.
Iowa knows what to look for in a punter.
Their specialty is being terrible at recruiting quarterbacks and guys on offense, but being elite at recruiting defenders and special teams guys.
Okay. Shay Blatarski says, we lost to Jim Walden in 1992. I was at that game. So what are the chances of losing to Scotty Walden in 2024? Who is Scotty Walden?
Scotty Walden is the coach of UTEP.
Oh, he is. Well,
I'm looking up Jim Walden right now, actually.
Okay, Jim Walden was coach at Iowa State.
Oh, he was?
It was the worst loss of Tom Osborne's entire career.
What was the loss? How bad?
Well, it wasn't a high-scoring game. Was it 20 to 14, something like that?
But it was a loss to a terrible Iowa State team?
Yes, with a backup quarterback. It was like two weeks in a row. Before that, we beaten ranked teams, beat the shit out of them. Went into Iowa State, and just nothing we did worked. And I got thrown out of the game by a police officer. Told me,
why did you get thrown out of the game?
Because I had a beer in my hand.
You're not allowed to have a beer in your hand?
No.
How'd you get it in?
Not from that guy. There was a woman sitting right next to me that had a Bartle and James bottle sitting with her hand on her knee. Okay.
So this was back when you used to drink.
Yeah. Well, it's 1992. My wife was like 7 months pregnant, sitting next to me. And I was sitting next to Todd. And
someone had to drink for the two of you if she couldn't do it.
Well, she doesn't drink very much. Now she drinks more, but that I don't. But what was it? They kicked off and the ball went through the uprights, and I stood up with a beer in my hand and went field goal. And of course I stood up, and this cop goes, "You and your beer out of this game." And I said, "Wait, like I'm the only person with alcohol?" And this was like 30 seconds after I'd seen somebody thrown an empty whiskey bottle at our band. And I said, I'm the only one with any alcohol here. I mean, people had open bottles of whiskey, all sorts of shit. And he goes, "You're the only one I see." And I started going back and forth with him. Todd is pushing me out of the stadium. And the last thing he says to me is, if you go out of the stadium, if you come back in the stadium, you are going to jail. And I'm like, and I went down to the end zone. There was a kid, Iowa State kid, jumped out of a porta potty. And he's like, "You look really sad, man." And I'm like, I was thrown out of the game, and I was told that if I come back, I'm going to jail. I'm not leaving this game because we're fucking losing. And he was just blasted off his mind. He goes, "Hey, you can come and sit with us in the end zone." So I came and I sat with a bunch of Iowa State students that were just drunk as hell in the end zone. And then when the game was ending, I can't remember the quarterback Iowa State had, but by God, he went out on an option run and he ran like 75 yards directly at us. And I'm screaming, they're going to tackle him. They tackled him about the 3. Iowa State scored a few plays after that. At the end of the game, these Iowa State kids are like, "We need to do something, tear down the goalpost." And I'm like instructing them on how to tear down a goalpost. Because I started screaming at them, "You all get the fence all together." What?
Where's your wife during all this?
Well, she's up with Todd and Tammy up in the stadium.
I love it.
You know what? If she hears
your memory is freaking awesome, by the way. Remembering an option route down the sideline for 75 yards, getting tackled at the 3. You remember all this, and you were telling me an hour ago.
You're watching the guy run right at us. He was awesome. Running right at us. I was just like, shit. Anyway, we're standing in front of this fence that we got to jump over to get on the field. There's a bunch of cops in front of us, and I started screaming at all the Iowa State students. We all got to go together. Oh, the time the cops are going to pick you off. So I start screaming a countdown, and we get to 1, and all of us go over the fence at once, and we hit the goalposts, and they were really crappy goalposts because they fell over. And I had my camera with me because I always had a camera with me. And we're going around the stadium, and they're screaming and yelling. I'm walking around taking pictures, and I run into the guys that are carrying the goalposts around the stadium, And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You got to take the goalpost out of the stadium, get it out of here, cut it up for souvenirs. You take it down to your bar street. I can't remember what the street is, the names. But while I'm on the field.
Wait, really quick, pause right here. I think it's so interesting hearing these stories because I don't know anything about Nebraska games like pre-1995. If I wasn't born yet, I know very little about it because I never got to watch them. So hearing you talk about it was fantastic. Just bookmark this. I would hope you would share more of your stories and game experiences on your hardcore history because I think this is really entertaining to listen to. But please continue.
That's a good idea.
Okay, but who did I run into when I was on the field?
Tell me.
The policeman.
The same one?
Yeah.
Oh no.
And he looks up at me and he looks at me and we look at each other. And you know how you look, when you look at a guy you're like gonna get into a fight with or something, you kind of look, you do that kind of Western cowboy kind of swing thing. And he puts his hand down to his waist. You know what I mean? He does that move.
Oh yeah. He
and
wants to make sure
I'm
he's
looking at him and I point him at my camera and I said, I'm just taking pictures of this great Iowa State victory. And he goes, oh, you're taking pictures, huh? And I said, yeah, I'm just, you guys won. Just I kept trying to maneuver him into a photo is what I was trying to do. And he was smart enough to stay out of the photo, but I did not go to jail. And if my wife hears me talking about this, she's going to be pissed off tomorrow all over again because she was 7 months pregnant. And she was like, you got thrown out of a game when I was 7 months pregnant, you son of a bitch.
All right, John, well, we're going to get so excited and so pumped up about this Colorado game that our goal is to get kicked out of this one too. So I'm ready. I can't wait to attend this with you.
I would think our goal would be to tear down a goalpost.
That too. We're doing it all.
You can't, you know what?
Wow.
The goalposts now, you couldn't drive a freaking tractor in there and pull them down. They are so anchored to the ground, and there's so much stuff about not going on the field. Anyway, that was the second goalpost I'd torn down in my life. Let's go on with some more comments.
You've got some stories. You've lived some lives.
Fred Sacco says, Bartles and James don't tell Connor this was a thing. Bartles and James was a wine cooler years ago that was extremely popular. I think it was one of the first kind of alcoholic, not really wine, but not really beer drink. And now they're all over the place, right?
Oh, it's like how they have those mixed drinks, like the twisted lemonade.
White Claws and yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What the hell? Aaron Keene and John got dysentery, but survived years later. It spawned the bathroom videos. I just felt like it was appropriate that when we lost in Northwestern, the bathroom was where that thing belonged.
It made you an icon. It honestly, it made your brand and your channel stand out among all other Nebraska content creators. I mean, when Barstool picked it up, that was the pinnacle. It was like, wow, the national media is now talking about this guy's videos because they're so funny and the reactions were so raw and so real. I would never do it, but I love that you did. I'm so happy you did. And I loved watching it. I was in so much pain after that Northwestern game. You can go back on my channel and watch my reactions. I was so upset, so disheartened. I mean, I have my Georgia Southern reaction video. I'm sure yours was in the bathroom that night as well. And as soon as I got done with my Georgia Southern reaction and said, it's time for Scott Frost to go, I hopped over to your channel. You're in the bathroom again, talking about get this guy the hell out of here. So,
well, I think when he lost the Georgia Southern, the writing was really on the wall. Let's see. Melissa Gitchell says, have you all heard the new Tunnel Walk song?
I didn't know there was a new one.
Maybe that's something in Chasing 3, the video they released it.
Maybe it
Check
is.
Twitter.
Be fun watching.
Let's see. Shay Blatarski says Jim Walden sounded like he was drunk all the time, maybe because he was drunk all the time. He took after his college coach. Coaches could do things in those days that they just can't do now. Yeah. I'll just say that.
They had more free reign.
What else? What else do we have, Minnie? You haven't said much.
Yeah, Minnie.
Because I'm still reading comments.
Oh, Minnie's the comment.
And highlighting them.
You know what? I'm going to put it. I need to learn how to do this better from you guys. Where did I put this? I'm going to ask you to look at something here. Okay, this is going to go over all our faces because I'm not that great at this. But look at this order of finish. Oh my God, it doesn't.
Feels Big Ten preseason. Can you drop the chat?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay.
Okay. I actually have read this because I was in Phil Steele's magazine and I love reading it. But I think this is pretty accurate. I mean, good job, John.
Where did Connor go?
Yeah,
I'm hidden. It's okay. Leave me hit. Now Minnie's gone.
That's fine. I'm in the middle.
I think this format's actually really nice, John. I think this is like a new format for you. Okay, anyway. Maryland, Washington, Indiana, Illinois. Nebraska plays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the bottom 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 of the bottom 7. So that's a good sign. They play Indiana, Illinois, UCLA, Minnesota, and Purdue. Does that give you any more confidence about wins, John?
Yeah, I guess I looked at this and I thought, come on, Phil Steele. You know what Phil Steele's going to do?
Okay. He's
going to predict Ohio State and Oregon is number 1, and then later he's going to remind everybody he picked the number 1 team with one of those two.
No. What he's going to do is he's going to predict Ohio State and Oregon number 1 because that's what he has to do. But later he's going to remind everyone, hey, I said Rutgers and Nebraska were number 7 and 8, and I knew they could be breakout teams, even though I didn't say they'd finish in the top 3, and one of those teams finished in the top 3. So I was right. That's what he would do.
Okay, guys. James, can I put a comment up here real quick?
Yeah,
James Boardman a while ago, he said some people expect Nebraska to be 7-0 by the OSU game. Will OSU be undefeated in that game? They play Oregon before our game.
I don't believe they will be. John, I think, thinks they will. John's a homer for the Big Ten teams, so he thinks Ohio State will beat Oregon. What do you think, John?
It's at Oregon, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do think Ohio State will beat Oregon. I think that
I knew it.
Well, what?
That you were going to say that.
Well, yeah.
You're a homer.
I don't like this format because I move around a lot, and people that are you guys that are stable human beings, I work well with this format.
You're a bit erratic.
Go back to the other one. Wherever that went.
Oh my God. No.
I love that my favorite IT guy
here, John,
is still learning StreamYard.
Go ahead and do this.
John, I think it's this one.
Oh,
nope.
You guys are awesome. I am so glad I'm on this show. You guys are so funny.
Hey, we're trying to get ready for this season.
Okay, you guys have great chemistry together. So I think that's what makes this so fun and entertaining for me to watch.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing with this. Are you adding yourself back in, Minnie? Add yourself back in. Okay, here's the thing with Ohio State. I think that, especially when I talk to Ramsey, and Ramsey does have an influence on me because he knows everything about Ohio State.
What's Ramsey? 11 Warriors?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that them adding Chip Kelly as an offensive coordinator, I think is just a massive, huge thing for them.
Huge.
I think, Chip Kelly doesn't have to be the head coach where he has to deal with nil and all that shit. And he can just, he can focus on the offensive coordinating, and Ryan Day doesn't have to worry about that now. And I think that he can't do everything. I think college football more than ever is where the head coach has to be really a CEO as much as, he has to do. I saw a comment where Matt Rhule said something about who was a college football scoop or somebody took his coaching wrong or took one of his videos wrong, where he is yelling at, he's talking about coaching the players and how he's going to select the players and how I think it was the one where they were playing differently than they do when they're watching people in front of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
You guys want to know why you lose? This is the reason why. That one.
Yeah.
I haven't. I'm unfamiliar.
And I think that Matt Rhule understands that. He understands that he has a bunch of coaches he can trust, that, Satterfield's going to be the OC. Tony White's going to be the DC. Everybody has a role to play. His role isn't being high am an ego and I have to overrule every little tiny thing about this, because during a game, I watch the sidelines. If you're at a game, just take 5 minutes. This goes for everybody. if you're at a game, take 5 minutes and watch the sidelines. Just watch all the shit that's going on a sideline. All the things that are happening in the background. You have to do this at a game and not on TV because TV condenses stuff down.
Crops it.
But if you're at a game, there's, especially when they call timeout, there are so many things going on. The cheerleaders are running on the field. This is happening over there. The TV guy steps out on the field during commercials, and the coaches, watch what the coaches are doing during timeouts. It's always, I always think it's interesting to watch that. Like Ben Franklin, James Franklin will just basically watch his other coaches during a timeout, and his other coaches will get their units together. And the OCs and the DCs are coaching, and James Franklin is watching everything else that's going on because he's paying attention to the game. You can't do all that stuff. You can't run an offense and be the coach overseeing everything at the same time during a game. It's really hell.
So all of this is to say that you believe Chip Kelly is in a much better position to be an X and O expert because he's not now managing an entire sideline. Is that correct?
Yes.
I understand your position now, and it makes sense.
It was a long way getting there.
It was a very long way, but it all made sense and it had to be said.
I have a question regarding this.
Okay.
So Ryan Day used to work for Chip Kelly. Have you ever considered what it would be like then to have your former boss work for you?
I think it's interesting because in a normal situation, you wouldn't like that. It would be uncomfortable.
Right.
But just like John explained, he doesn't want to be in charge anymore. He's tired of the way it is.
Yeah.
He wants someone else to handle that role. Chip Kelly's last concern is money. Chip Kelly's been coaching at the highest level for a very long time. I mean, he's living in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know what the cost of living is there, but it's well below what he can afford. So for him, he gets all the power, he gets all the status, all the great things that come with being a football coach.
Yeah.
He has all the money he needs, and he doesn't have to have the extra responsibility of, I have this ridiculous pressure to manage all of these CEO things that I don't want to deal with. Yes, it's weird in most cases. No, it's not weird in this one case. Yeah. This is the exception to the rule. Okay. That's my take on it.
Plus, I mean, if Ohio State and Chip Kelly can beat Michigan this year, maybe win a Big Ten title, and maybe be in the national title game even, I mean, Chip Kelly's going to be a god in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, yeah, of course. He's set.
And he can coach. He probably extends his coaching career because he doesn't have to be the top guy with all the stress. And plus, to be honest with you, when you get, as you start getting toward retirement, okay, one of the things you hope doesn't happen is massive, huge changes because you have to learn a whole new way of doing things.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And what's happened to college football in the last 2-3 years, the biggest changes we've probably seen in the sport since like 1912.
Hence Paul Christ dipping out.
Yeah. Coach Nick Saban's like, I am the greatest coach of all time, arguably, debatably, but I'm okay. I'm done. Other guys can take over. It's good. I've accomplished what I'm here for. But when you're trying to get that last few years in, you're like, please don't fucking change everything that I have to deal with. That's usually the edge that makes you quit. And Chip Kelly doesn't have to deal with those changes. He has to just be an offensive coordinator. And that's why I think Ohio State is probably and then they have just money pouring out their eyeballs. And then they've already been recruiting players all over the place. They're poised to be a juggernaut. The thing about the Big Ten is Oregon. Phil Knight's getting old. He's going to pour as much money he can into a program that's never won a national title, never been a blue blood, always been right up here. Dan Lanning's a good coach. They can recruit whoever they want. Phil Knight's going to look at this and go, I'm just pouring everything I got into making this program. This is going to be the most fantastic college football season in our lives
ever.
2024.
I've been around for a long time.
2007 was one of the best seasons of my lifetime.
It was.
2007 had West Virginia, USF, both Big East teams who were dominant in the top 10 at one point. West Virginia looked like, with Pat White and Steve Slayton, like they were going to win the national championship before they lost to Pitt. So I don't know. For this year to match up with 2007, you'd have to see some craziness. But I will say this is going to be the best season in the last 10 years. It's hard to debate that. I think this year's set up really nicely.
Shay Blakarski says, would you rather start 7-0 and get blown out by Ohio State or start 4-3 and upset Ohio State?
Let you start with that answer.
What's that?
I'll let you start with that answer.
Oh, sure.
We can dump it on Minnie.
I only highlight the questions.
I'm okay with I would rather get 7-0 and get blown out, I think.
I think I would as well. I think so. Give me your reason first.
The reason why is because we've already accomplished, everybody can shut the fuck up about the bowl game thing at 7-0. And number two, nobody really expects us to be that far along in this timeline yet. So I don't think that it would be a huge, massive, plus it's in Columbus, for God's sake.
I'll tell you what, I hear you, John, but really think about this.
Okay.
You're looking at this too surface levelly, okay?
What are you saying? I'm rash?
I just think it's surface level. Let's really dive into it, okay? If they start off 4-3, that means they lost to Purdue, they lost to Rutgers, and they lost one more other game against a really bad team, either Colorado or Illinois, okay? Yes, it would be frustrating. But on the flip side, if they did win 4 games and now they beat Ohio State and they're 5-3, what does that say about where this team's at? Well, their trajectory is like this. I mean, it might be 90 degrees. They might have been starting down here at the bottom, but they're flying. Would they be in a better position to make the college football playoff at 5-3 with the world ahead of them? UCLA, USC, Iowa, Wisconsin. I am of the belief that a 4-3 start might actually position them better as long as they could beat Ohio State to make the college football playoff this year. I'm going to take 4-3 and upset Ohio State because the rise would be so sharp. You would go from losing to these really weak teams to then winning a road game at Ohio State, and you're now proven. So I don't know. It's a tough call.
Minnie, what do you got?
Well, I want to show this comment. The quarterback is going to hurt Ohio State. Will Howard from Kansas State is now their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with him. He's pretty good. He's a game manager at the very least. And I think that's the narrative right now that everyone talks about. Will Howard doesn't have to be CJ Stroud. Will Howard doesn't have to be Justin Fields. Will Howard just has to do enough to not give games away or screw things up. They have everybody around them. They have a great defense. They have a great coach. They have great everything, great leadership. They're not going to crumble. So Will Howard, yes, he might not be the elite quarterback who Ohio State's been working with in the past, but he won a Big 12 championship at Kansas State. He beat TCU, who played for a national championship. The guy's not a
Which one you going with?
What was it? The guy's not a putz.
Well,
which one you going with?
I'm gonna say the 7-0.
Yeah, Minnie. I think Minnie wants to have as many high points as possible, and you get more high points when you win 7 games. I get that.
Plus, I think that if we're 7-0, we get blown out by Ohio State. I think, and then we go on and we beat. What? If we finish at 10-2 in the regular season, we're probably gonna have a good shot at the college football playoff.
Oh. That would be an insane year.
That would be an insane year. I would say finish 9-3 would be an insane year. Finish 8-4 would be a great year. Finish 7-5 would be a good year, and finish 6-6. I'm in the bathroom with you.
It drops off so fast. Okay. Fred Zacco says nobody named Chip should be considered a god. What a stupid name. If you know what? If you win games, you could probably get away with murder. So, Chip, Biff, if you remember Biff Jones, nobody remembers Biff Jones. For God's sakes, that's a long time ago in history. Anybody names don't matter, All right. Don Dre says, I remember at a Nebraska football game seeing Tom Osborne reach up and grab a giant football player by the face mask and yell at him, pulling him down to his level. Well, that, if we do that now, people get all freaky about stuff. That was just the way things were done then.
I remember when Matt Rhule made the comment that he said something about punching players at Big Ten Media Days, and then he backtracked and said, no, I don't do that. And I thought that was so cool. I was like, God, Matt Rhule's so funny because he's acknowledging that it's kind of a joke that our society's so sensitive.
Melissa Gitchell says he was just lazy because he didn't want to recruit. Melissa, Ohio State, I assume that's a comment about Chip Kelly. I don't blame him. Get older, it's harder to get shit done. You just want to, if somebody just looked at you and said, you can make yourself a legend doing this one small part of this that we really need and you're good at. I could.
Prior to this year,
it's hard.
They didn't have the, sorry, go ahead, Connor.
I'm listening to you, Minnie.
Well, I was just going to say, his role also as a head coach was to help raise funds for NIL, which they had a very difficult time doing there.
Which is surprising.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's so much. The other thing is watching the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, again, this year is going to be absolutely like one of the most fun things ever. Because they go at each other so hard. They're such insane people.
Well, because every year when they play, it means everything.
Yeah.
It means you're going to go and get a playoff spot. It means you're going to fight for a national championship. If Nebraska and Iowa games were like that every year, I'm sure Nebraska would be going that hard, and so would Iowa. But unfortunately, they're both bottom feeders to some degree most of the time they play. One team a bottom feeder more than the other, but it doesn't matter. We'll just say both are bottom feeders.
Okay. Is there anything else we should get through? Because this is a lot longer than I usually do, but that's okay. I've enjoyed seeing you again, Connor. I hope your off season had been very well. You're still in California.
Yeah, I'm in California for now. We'll see what the future holds, but right now I'm in California.
There's a lot of people leaving that state. We should probably just stop there.
I don't even know if we'd call it leaving. I'd call it fleeing, but yeah. There are a lot of people fleeing California.
All right.
I'll be one of them soon. Maybe I'll come check out Never mind. I might go check out Arizona with Minnie.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
come
the
to
cold,
Arizona.
isn't it?
It's the cold that I have an issue with. Yep.
It makes you a hardy human being.
Or the gravy. Maybe the gravy's where I draw the line.
Connor, somebody's asking, is Connor going to the USC game?
Am I going to the USC game? Okay, the USC game for me is a massive deal. So, quick story, John. My dad went to USC. My sister went to UCLA. I grew up 45 minutes away from downtown LA in Orange County. My entire childhood was me rocking Nebraska gear and going to school, and everyone literally my nickname was Nebraska. Like, people would just call me Nebraska when I was in elementary school, right? Everybody loved USC. It was the Reggie Bush era,
right?
Palmer, Ray Malou, superstar after superstar. The games were amazing. You had the 2005 Rose Bowl when I was growing up, and I was 45 minutes away from all of it. My family had season tickets. Everybody I went to school with had season tickets, so I would see them at the games. USC was my childhood. Okay, I remember going to practice and meeting John David Booty, Pete Carroll. My dad's one of his best friends played at USC, so I would see all of this really cool stuff. I was on the sideline for games, the whole deal. So USC holds a really special place in my heart because of my connection to it. I played at a really big high school about 30, 40 minutes away from there as well. And a bunch of guys I played high school football with played at USC. So my whole world has been USC outside of my tie to Nebraska that I've always obviously held dear to me. And although no one else could resonate or understand it, I was loyal to a fault to that team. Okay. USC hosting Nebraska. When I have all the subscribers I have who I run into at games, and I get to have that fun experience talking to them. Because remember, the reason I started the channel was because I'm in Southern California with all these USC fans who bash Nebraska, who bash me for rooting for them, and who can never understand why I'm a Nebraska fan. Now, for me to be able to go back to that same stadium where I know all these people and then have all these Nebraska fans who I'm friends with now through my channel to be able to talk positively about the team and the thing that I love so much is such a good feeling. Almost like I've climbed this mountaintop, right? Like I've fought through all the nonsense and all the F Nebraska and they suck and you're stupid for rooting for all that. I fought through it. And now we finally are here. It's like, okay, Nebraska is competent again. I've got a ton of friends to share in that with. I'm going to have my mom, my dad, my sister's boyfriends come in. A bunch of my friends are flying out for it. I mean, and then obviously a bunch of friends through my channel are coming. So I'm going to be there. I will be loud. I will be proud. I will be able to come home right after, since I only live 15 minutes away, and do an immediate reaction on my live stream. But yes, I am pumped beyond belief for that game. And one of the best games I ever went to was with my mom, dad, my sister in 2006. It was Nebraska USC, number 1 USC versus number 15 Nebraska, something like that. And Nebraska obviously got beaten down in that game. I mean, not beaten down. They lost by 2 touchdowns, maybe 3.
Right.
But regardless, I want revenge. I want to see something good. I went to the 2014 Holiday Bowl down in San Diego. Took my girlfriend at the time. She had never been to a Nebraska game before. She's a USC girl. All of our friends were USC fans. We're all there. Again, same story. I'm 21, getting made fun of by all my friends for rooting for Nebraska. I want to see Nebraska pull off the win over them for all of that heat I took back then, right? This is a very important game this year for me.
We have played, I think, 4 times. We've only played USC 4 times, five, and we have never beaten
69,
them.
70. In 70, USC and Nebraska tied. Okay. It was 21-21. Later that year, Notre Dame's the number 2 team in the country. All they have to do is beat USC in the Coliseum. Joe Theismann's the quarterback. He throws for 540 yards. USC beats Notre Dame that day. Notre Dame, the team who was supposed to be the national champion, goes down. Who ends up winning the national championship with 0 losses and 1 tie to that same USC team?
Yeah.
That's a special game. It's a special season.
That's true.
They played again in 2006, 2007, 2014. That gives you their 5 matchups. And now you've got the back-to-back this year and next. I couldn't be more pumped.
Redwine 65 says, I don't see how USC doesn't have some drop off on offense with their quarterback gone. Well, I think,
I'll tell you why. Last year,
go ahead.
Did you watch the Louisville game with Miller Moss?
I don't remember it right now.
Miller Moss stepped in when Caleb Williams sat out, and 4 receivers stepped in when all the other guys dipped out and said they were going pro. Some defensive guys had to step up because some guys were not going to play, portal, whatever. USC went and played a Louisville team who was, number 1, healthy, number 2, committed to being there and wanted to win that game for their full turnaround to get to 10 wins or 11 wins, whatever it was. And Louisville, who had a top 20 defense nationally, got absolutely picked apart and diced up by Miller Moss and a bunch of backup receivers who had barely played all season. USC proving it in a bowl game, number 1, when there's a bunch of pressure. Number 2, with a quarterback who has barely played all year and had no real training to be the starter. And then a bunch of receivers who were just kind of thrown together, although they were all highly recruited. That tells me USC is going to be more than prepared to come into the Big Ten and lead a top 25 offensive attack like they always do, because it's Lincoln Riley. It's 5-star QBs. It's guys who are meant to play in his system. And I have zero doubt that USC is going to have any drop off after Caleb left. Caleb won 7 games last year. USC will be better than 7 wins this year.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. Okay, David Matney says we're probably going to have to end soon. But it's been a good time. David Matney says, we have not even won 1 game yet. It is a little early to talk about crusting the mountaintop. Well, put it this way, David. Put it this way, David. He was real early. He was really authentic early, and now we've got him drunk on Kool-Aid. Okay, so come on. We're preparing for the season. That's what this is. All right. Should we end?
Like that.
We should probably be done. I'm getting old and tired.
It's been almost 2 hours, John. I rarely do 2-hour shows. I'm impressed that you were able to go this long.
I know.
Yeah,
especially because I'm on the West Coast. It's not even 8 o'clock for me. For you, it's like 10 o'clock.
Well, I usually go to bed about midnight, honestly. It's whether or not I can function with other human beings. Okay, next Monday night, I actually am going to have Dr. Lou Cole on. He is a cardiologist. He is the cardiologist that saved my life. And we are going to talk about heart attack awareness. I know that we probably should be talking about Nebraska football, but on the 21st, I will be 9 years old. And I feel like if I don't
Wow.
do something with heart attack awareness and what it's like to live through this kind of shit, that, I'm not doing my job, because I survived for a reason. So next, Lou, by the way, Dr. Lou Cole is a Wisconsin alum. And I'm sure that he will have plenty to say, because every time I meet with him, we talk about college football, and he's had plenty to, you know what? That you guys know that I have jumped in cold water during winter to raise money for the Special Olympics, the polar plunge stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was told you got to get this cleared with your cardiologist. I wrote to Dr. Luke Cole and I said, what do you think about this jumping in cold water thing? People with heart attacks shouldn't do this. And he goes, it's probably going to be a shock to your system, but it's no different than like having a minor fender bender, or it's having somebody surprise you. And he goes, plus, you being a Nebraska fan, you've lived through far worse things than this. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. So there you go. Dr. Luke Cole will be joining us next week. There you go. Greg says, smash the like button. That would be appreciable. I think that throughout this season, Connor and I mentioned there's a lot of Nebraska content. And there is. And I think the one thing that I try to do that a lot of other people don't is I try to interview opponents, because I enjoy it. We had a really good interview with the UCLA guy last week, where he said he would have to figure out how to buy a winter coat, because November UCLA will be in Nebraska. He doesn't know what a winter coat even is like. No idea, that kind of stuff. I think I'll just keep doing that throughout the season. All right. I think that's going to be it for us tonight. Thanks to Connor for joining us. Old man endurance is real, fuggers. And sometimes they make pills for that too. There you go. With that, we're going to end the stream. Thanks for the support. Thanks for joining us, Connor. Thanks, Minnie. Thank you all for your support. By God, it is time to get ready for Nebraska for football season, because they play this weekend. Good night, everybody.